what prevents you from creating? What are hurdles that stop you,
I think
that
like
get in your way?
lately it goes back to like education, and getting more education I feel like was good, but also like a hurdle, because then I got to this point where like I would just sit down to write and I was like, no, that's not complicated enough, that doesn't have like a seventh in it, that doesn't have blah blah blah, and then it was just like I would just end up with nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the most frustrating thing for me, like probably pretty recently. I feel like once I graduated and just like well, I guess I'm still in school, but like once I graduated from undergrad, I think that was the hardest thing, was just remembering that all of the things that I've learned are sort of like in a toolbox and I can take it out when I want it, you know, but
Yeah.
like at the end of the day I need to just like let things happen organically, because that's how I've always written. And I think for some people, like writing mathematically does work.
Yeah.
I feel like I've met like a ton of people at school who write that way, and that's just like what works for them, and they write really cool like avant-garde pieces that are so complicated that I could never write. And they love that, and that speaks to them. But I think it was like realizing that that's not me. I wanted to be like that person that like always had like a formula of how to write a song and like knew exactly what notes. But like when I had to like come to this point where I was like, okay, like before I knew any of this stuff, how did I write? And it was just like me fiddling, not literally knowing nothing, knowing no keys on like the piano, what the keys were.
Yeah.
Just like fiddling until I liked something.
Yeah, it basically, I guess, to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, it sounds like, you know, if you've got a keyboard here of your ideas and whatnot, that could, infinite possibilities of things could come from that. You got to a point where you had so many tools that the toolbox was overflowing, and the wrenches are on the key. You can't even play the keys because they're covered in tools. And so I think like something that maybe people that aren't necessarily just specifically in music could take away from this is like people, relationships, skills that you've learned, they all like serve purposes in a way to help you be the person you want to be, right?
100%.
So it's like, you know, even my vocal teacher, when I was first getting acquainted with her, like I had to send her some of my stuff that I'd worked on, and she'd made some comments about the way I write certain things and like whatever, and this thing wasn't for her and blah, 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 blah. And that's what I'm paying her to do. Like I got really down for a day. I was like, damn, she just wrote, this is one of my favorite songs of mine. Like so I sent her a couple of my ones. I'm like, oh, these are the good ones. You know, whatever. And to hear her say that, I'm like, damn, but this is a professional singing coach. She's worked on whatever. That's what I'm going to her for. It doesn't mean that this art is not worth anything.
No,
you know, that's, I need to take that for what it is. It's the same thing with anything else in life. If you've got a, you know, how do I want to put this? Like if you have maybe a boss or a friend of yours that, or maybe an older sibling, whatever, that has their own business, and you're going to them for business advice, and they're shredding whatever it is you're doing. It doesn't mean everything they're saying is perfectly right, but you went to them for that, you know, so take that in as what it is. If your heart still tells you to do whatever it was that they were shredding, do that, because that's you.
It's just about getting like as much information as you can and then doing what you will with it.
Don't not listen to people.
You
know, listen to everybody.
You're not saying just don't listen
to people, but at the end of the day, if you look in the mirror and what you're doing, or you're listening to your music, or you're looking at the painting you've just done, or whatever art it is, if you look at it and you're like, this looks like what they told me to make and not what I wanted to make, you have a problem. You know, and I think that's something that needs to be thought of when you're getting into that. So
I think it was like getting like just realizing that like that I don't, because I got super into like she's a famous like jazz artist. Her name's Esperanza Spalding. She's super cool. She does like really cool stuff, and like her latest album is called 12 Little Spells, and it's like about the 12 chakras, and I'm not super into that stuff, but she did a song for like each chakra and like corresponding body part, and it was just so cool and like just like far out, and I was very like abstract. I want to and she like and she's also like, she's a jazz musician who like, I mean, jazz musicians are just crazy, like the stuff that they know, and she like was able to use all of that complicated stuff and just like create it in a way that was also like able, like I was able to understand it, like, or like I feel like anybody that just heard that album would be able to like understand where she was coming from, even if they didn't understand the technical aspects of things. And I think I got in this mode where I wanted things to like be so complicated technically and then still sound like the way that her music sounded, and like some stuff I feel like maybe I've written, I feel that way about, but it was like stuff that I wasn't thinking about. I wasn't thinking about the technical stuff. I just like wrote it because I liked it. And I think like that was like a really hard thing going back to hurdles, but like just a hard thing to get over, like that I didn't need to have all of this crazy theory stuff.
You're
like,
putting
in my
you went
music.
from being in a box where you're like didn't have any tools,
Yeah,
so
I
you
knew
were limited in
nothing.
what you
Yeah.
could do
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you didn't have the tools to do everything, to then putting yourself in a new shinier box where it was
Mhm.
like, I have to do the stuff that fits with these tools, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And you had to kind of find a
And I
balance.
just wanted, I was like, I was looking for some sort of like, I guess like validation from like my peers or my professors that like, wow, that was so complicated. Good
Oh, yeah.
job. And like, cool. Like if somebody, you know what I mean? And I just wanted people to like hear it and be like, wow, she did something complicated and like, I don't even know.
You needed the ego
Yeah,
stroke
but like
of it.
it
That's
does,
the ego talking.
yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah.
It's
And then
not-
I feel like but then that becomes my most inauthentic stuff that I even like the least.
yeah.
And which was a good realization to make, but just like annoying because I'm like, I spent so much time on like so much of my time trying to do that, and then it was like stuff that just didn't sound like me. I was
Yeah.
like, this just doesn't sound.
You're
not
trying
good.
to impress somebody that you're not even sure, you know,
Yeah.
if you like them. You know,
Mhm.
it's like, do I even like
Yeah,
this music that I
actually,
make? You know,
yeah,
and it's the same
yeah.
thing when you know, if somebody meets somebody new and you're trying to impress them and you
Yeah.
you
Do
turn
I
out you're
actually
like,
like this?
do I
person?
even like you? Did you ever? And
Mhm.
I struggle with that sometimes too, where I'm
Yeah.
like, why am I trying to be whatever the fuck I think I'm trying to be for this person? I don't even
Yeah.
know if I like them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, like,
Mhm.
and so it's an interesting thing. Hey, thanks for watching there, guy. Click right over here if you want to see that episode in its entirety. Or you can click over here and subscribe to the channel. See all the other fun shit we do here. It's really up to you, guy.